All right, y'all. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Fresh Perspective with Jeff Charles, with your favorite conservatarian, Jeff Charles. And I've got another great conversation for you guys today. But before we get into everything, remember to like this video, share this, and please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button right now and that notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new interview, which I do every Wednesday and Friday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern. I've kind of fallen off the bandwagon a little bit, but I'm getting back on track. So do not worry. But without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and bring on my guest here. I have with me the co-founder of GiveSendGo, Mr. Jacob Wells. Welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Awesome. And I'm glad that you're with me. I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation, especially right now. Just to give a little bit of background to the audience, you probably already know about what happened with PayPal. Basically, they got busted trying to implement a rule saying that if somebody spreads misinformation or engages in hate speech, they can fine them up to $2,500. Now, after they got busted and there was a backlash, they kind of pulled back from that. So we're going to talk about the ramifications of that. But before we get into that, Jacob, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and about GiveSendGo?
Right. No, thank you. So a little bit about myself first, I guess. I am the fifth of 12 children, large family. Ooh. 2 parents, 6 boys, 6 girls, even split. I'm number 5. My sister Heather, who's number 2, she's higher in the order. She is the co-founder with me with GiveSendGo. And we had another sister that was there with us at the very beginning, but because of life, just wasn't able to continue on. So Heather and I have now walked it out since 2014 is when the idea came about. I myself am a military veteran. I served in the Navy. I was a cryptologist for a while. I play sports. I play the drums. I play a couple instruments. So I'm married. I have 4 kids, one that's adopted, and we still foster children in the foster system. Okay. So we're very engaged and active in our community, in our church, just pouring back into the lives of others. We've been blessed with just with the benefit of a great upbringing ourselves. My sister and I came from a great home where 2 parents really showed good values and structure for us. And so we flourished underneath it. And the byproduct of that, we're now seeing in GiveSendGo is a company that's really taking over. We say taking over the world in many respects. We're now in over 85 countries. So we're about to expand into 100 countries. Yeah, people are using GiveSendGo around the world. I think oftentimes people think, crowdfunding here in the US or locally in Western society, but it's actually expanding. We've got campaigns popping off in Africa every single day. We've got campaigns all throughout Europe, Australia, Japan, all over the world. It's really incredible. We are steps ahead of some of those other crowdfunding sites, those woke sites, which we don't need to name. I typically say,
I'll name them.
the go F me site, but some people get a little pushed off. Get a little pushed off because of that. It kind of fits. If it offends you, I'm sorry. I typically, it's a joke. But yeah, in all seriousness, GiveSendGo has really grown. Our team's grown. We've got a great team of people. We're really excited about the future of GiveSendGo, and excited to see. We say this about GoFundMe and just even some of the other players in the financial space. They're our best advertisers because their actions keep pushing people to GiveSendGo. It's great. We have great marketing strategies and different things that we're doing to help propel the company. But when companies like PayPal and or GoFundMe or some of these other companies make some of the decisions that they make, they ostracize huge swaths of people. And it's a wide open field for GiveSendGo to step in, and we're creating new financial infrastructures for people to use. And so we're excited about what our future is.
Good. I mean, so other than, for lack of a better term, political philosophy, what differentiates GiveSendGo from a company like GoFundMe? I mean, it's the same industry, but what do you do differently?
Right. That's a great question. And obviously political philosophy is an element of that, but even more so fundamentally is our philosophy around giving itself. From my sister and I and our family, we came from a faith-based background, non-denominational Christian upbringing. And I actually went to school to be a pastor. I thought that was going to be my walk for a while. I went to a couple different Bible colleges. And what we saw in the model of giving that's shown throughout the Bible was that giving wasn't just about the doer that was going out and impacting the world. It was a relationship between the doer and also the giver who was resourcing that. It was a partnership between the two. It wasn't just focused on one person, but also was the recognition that money only meets our material needs. But in life, we have needs that are bigger than just our material needs. And so in a situation, this is a clear example of how that would play out in a situation where someone's just lost a loved one in a tragic accident. Now, you might raise $30,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a funeral expense, and money will pay for those expenses, and it's necessary. But it doesn't meet the hurt that you carry with you through those ordeals. So money isn't it all. Money doesn't solve all the problems. And we recognize that. And I think in society today, a lot of times we look to money to solve all the issues, and they won't. We've got to dig deeper. So our philosophy as a platform was right from the get-go, money doesn't solve it all. There's something bigger than money that we need to bring. We need to bring in intangibles, hope, community, connection. And that's rooted for us in the hope of who Jesus is. And so we built our platform around that ideal, that as we raise money, that we carry our hope with us openly, evidently to people around us. So what you'll see on GiveSendGo, different than any of these other sites, is you're going to see a Pray Now button. You can give, you can share, but you can also pray. So in that button, we put that on the page closer to the beginning, and it was just a way for people to be able to see that there was a community that may not have money at the time to give to them, but they have something else that's just as valuable. And we've actually seen that value play out over time, where people can submit now. That functionality allows the person that clicks Pray Now to send a note of encouragement, a note of life, a note of hope to a person that's walking out something difficult. Such a powerful tool in an age where people are more disconnected than ever, more connected yet disconnected than ever. We wanted to find real tangible ways to connect people. And so that was the first step. And then just over this past year, we said, how can we be better at delivering this idea of hope to people in difficult situations? Because typically when you're fundraising money, it is around difficult things, oftentimes, not all the time. So how can we do that better in connecting and sharing our hope with people? And so we said, we're gonna hire people that we know that are amazing people that love to pray, that love to speak life into people. We're gonna hire them to call all of our campaign owners as they set up a campaign and they're fundraising for their missions trip to South America, or their need next door, the cancer bill, that they're fundraising for. All of those different life events we're going to have prayer partners that call every single one of these campaigns and then pray with them over the phone about the situation that they're going through. And now this has blown the doors off of people's perspective when they get a phone call and they hear from somebody at a big tech or a company that's got a name that they know is willing to actually call them and engage with them on a personal level. It's really, really rocked some people. And we've seen that just step of engagement in the past 2 years. We saw the coronavirus push people into isolation through regulation and through government, oversight and all of this different stuff. People were isolated. They were told they needed to isolate, and that they were going to live by being isolated. Well, we know in almost every study that's ever come out on the sun, the dangers of isolation for people. It actually brings them to death. People are meant to be in communication. So we said, how can we communicate better with people? And that's where the prayer team came from. It was like, this is a way that we can engage with people better. We're always looking for those ways. So to your initial question, at GiveSendGo, we've got a prayer team. And they're going to call campaign owners. You're never going to get that at any other sites. And we love that fact, because the stories that we hear every single day from our prayer team members as they give us feedback on people that they've called and the phone calls that they've had, it's tremendous. People are rocked. They're bawling. They are so encouraged that someone's willing to call them. There's that. We are in 4 times as many countries as they are. So
wow.
they're in 19 countries. Like I said, we're now in over 85. So we're bigger than them on that dynamic. We're growing very quickly. We're growing much faster than them. We have a lot of the same functionality. We actually believe that we have some better functionality that they don't have on their site. So there's certain tools that we have that we give campaign owners, like a voice memo. So people on their campaign page on GiveSendGo, they can actually upload a voice clip to engage with people that come to this. So they can say, hey, thanks for stopping by my page. Here's a quick overview outside of just reading the story and seeing some pictures. So we added a little depth there with allowing people voice notes that's not available on some of the other sites. For pricing wise, GiveSendGo is a free platform. So when we started the platform years ago, we said, hey, we're not going to charge. We actually looked at it and said, people raising money are raising money because they need it, right? That's why you're raising money. Right. So it didn't make much sense to say, where all the other platforms were saying, in essence, they were all saying, hey, we're going to take 5% as a platform fee. So you raise that money. When someone gives you $100, we're going to take 5% of that for ourselves, for you using our site. And then the payment processor will take another couple, 2-3%. Mm-hmm. That was the standard model. We said, it doesn't make sense to take money from people that are raising it because they need it. The givers who are coming there to give, they're obviously givers. They have a giving mentality. That's why they're there. And they have money. That's why they're there oftentimes. Mm-hmm. So why don't we just ask the givers to give a little bit more? And we'll be a free site. And so we put on a way for people to voluntarily donate. We don't charge anything as a platform for our service. That model is now spread in some of the other sites, like the big one, GoFundMe, has copied, that model from us, where it's like a tip thing. But it all started, or with us, it started with a recognition that, hey, people are raising money because they need it. It doesn't make sense to take it from people that need it. Let's ask the givers who have it, see if they're willing. So we operate on a generosity model. And one of the ways that we're even working to be better is to lower that payment processing fee. So we partner with various third-party payment processors to get the rate, to get a rate for processing these payments. Ultimately, we want to become our own payment processor. We're actually in that discussion with several banks, several institutions, in developing that technology. We're actually moving pretty close to having that available. But what that will allow us to do, it will allow us to leverage that payment processing price down. Right now, standard across pretty much all online industries is around 2.9% is the standard payment processing fee for credit cards and the like. And so that's what it is on our site. As we continue to grow, we're going to leverage the influence that we have and make that less and less. And so we'll even be beating out, say, because GoFundMe has that same 2.9% payment processing fee. We'll actually be lowering it, I believe, here soon. So ours is actually, the payment processing fee is going to even be lower, that piece as well. So
good. Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, that's a huge difference. I didn't even know half the stuff that you talked about. But I wanted to talk about this PayPal thing and what happened last week. And what do you make of this whole thing? First of all, when you heard the story and you saw that go through the process, well, what was going through your mind? What's your take on this whole thing?
Well, we are coming up into an election season. So I think that there's an immediate take. It's okay, what are the big things happening in the world that this could somehow be related to? And so obviously there's a lot of strings being pulled around the election, whether it's Biden, hoping that OPEC doesn't, asking them to not cut their oil supply in time for the election, and all of the things that are surrounding some of that stuff. I think that some of these moves could very well coincide with trying to ensure that the election is regulated in the way that big tech wants to see it regulated. And so there's an aspect of that that's there. There's also an aspect of the reality that because how we say, even for GiveSendGo, is we don't really pick sides. We let freedom happen. So people on the left and the right, they can use our platform. That's the best way forward, is the use of everybody into something, and that difference of ideas can rub against each other and we move forward. It's not silencing one over the other. And I think when companies like PayPal do things like this, they really expose their hand, they expose who they are. So, you look at something like that and I actually thank God for moments like that. Because it exposes companies for what they are. A couple months back, we had something similar happen up in Canada where GoFundMe, there was a big trucker campaign, GoFundMe shut the campaign down. They switched over to GiveSendGo, raised more money, even quicker on GiveSendGo. But then what happened? The Trudeau government stepped in and enacted the Emergency Powers Act, something that was so beyond the pale in overreach and authoritarianism for a Western democracy to actually, or a country that claims to be a democracy, to do. But what it did was it opened people's eyes to the reality of the world that we live in and the nature of some governments. And I think, so when I look at things like this, I actually am like, yes, another company is showing their real face, because I would much rather you be truthful about who you are, what you stand for, so that we can actually engage on a real playing field. And now, as they've showed their face once again, I hope that people are awake to the realization of who they really are, because they quickly tried to backtrack.
Sure did.
Lost $5 billion in market cap the next day of the opening of the stock market. I mean, what a stupid move. But they're doubling down in many ways on this idiocracy of, it's not even idiocracy. I say it's the desecration of the sacrifices of the men and women who have died to give us freedom. Because it's ultimately what it is. When you as a company position yourself into a place to say, I am going to be the ruler of what you can and can't do, and I'm going to dictate how you can and can't do it, you, in essence, are trampling on the sacrifices that men and women have paid for with their lives over the years to see us live in freedom. And that, as a platform here at GiveSendGo, we say that's never going to happen. We're just not going to do it. We're going to allow freedom to reign. We're going to allow even the byproducts of freedom, because freedom can be dangerous.
Actually,
I recognize that, and it's horrific. But the call of, and this is a Christian idea, the call of the Christian, and it stems from the Bible, is that God, with Adam and Eve, he didn't stop the freedom from them to choose what to do, right or wrong. But as soon as that decision was made and death came as a result of their choosing, he stepped in to redeem it. And he made a promise for a future time for redemption to come to mankind. The call of the Christian is the same thing, is to say, listen, people make bad decisions. I'm not going to step in and quelch every ability for you to make a decision. No, you need to take responsibility for your actions. If you do something illegal and harmful, yes, there should be ramifications. But the call of the Christian is to step in and come alongside in the brokenness and help people rebuild and pick up the pieces. And that's how we're going to operate as a platform. That's how we do operate. But to PayPal, I mean, I rejoice. I think it's great that these companies are showing themselves for who they are. I think it's great for companies like ours that exist in a similar space, a place for people to facilitate financial transactions. And we're going to get more and more in the space as the time comes. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of people close their accounts because of it. So, I mean, there was a backlash. But I mean, what I would caution people is to don't fall into thinking that this means they're going to stop. They just got caught this time. That doesn't mean that they're not going to try to pursue this later. I mean, you've got Chase Bank a few years ago closing the accounts of conservative activists and politicians, and you saw what just happened with JP Morgan and Kanye, and these companies, they do have the right to associate with whoever they want to associate with. But even back with the whole Canada thing, when that was going on, I wrote an article about that, and what I basically predicted, and I want to see what you think about this, is because this is happening in other industries too, not just the financial industry, but what happens if these companies get more politicized? Well, that's going to open up a new market. These industries are going to be more siloed. And it was, to me, it was sad to me that the crowdfunding industry had become politicized and that it even has to be siloed. But do you see that coming up in the future, or do you think there might be enough of a backlash to where these companies will go back to being normal companies, or how do you see?
No, I don't think. I think that say mental damage is done. The push into their ideology is so strong. It's veiled and it's very deceptive because it's couched and veiled under an ideal of morality. And so that's what makes it very difficult, because it's all like, hey, we're saying that we're for the marginalized or the oppressed, but in reality, everything that they do does just the opposite, but they think that they actually are doing something good. And so I think that in many ways, you really need a revival, like something that's fundamental to the core of you to change that. And so I don't necessarily see those businesses as being redeemed in the structure of how it goes. I really think that there's an alternative economy that's just replacing it over time. And this is what we say at GiveSendGo. We're not an alternative. It's not an alternative economy. It's a replacement economy that's coming, because we are going to replace them versus just be an alternative. And we're not going to exist ourselves, because our model as a platform has a wider appeal. If you poll Americans today, most Americans still are very freedom oriented. They're opportunity oriented. 80+%. It is a small minority of people that are the radical left that are driving the ship the way that they are in these big companies. It's out of Silicon Valley. It's out of these big places. GiveSendGo has the remainder 80% of the American people that believe still in freedom. And so in a capitalistic society that we still live in, a meritocracy where people work hard and they achieve as a result of the effort that they put in, we're going to see that platforms like those die over time as the fostering of new companies with better ideas come in and just over time replace them. And that's my hope. That's where I see things happening, because I can't see these companies making the changes that I think it's too ingrained. I think it's too deep. I think it's too deceptive in the way that they think about it.
Like past the point of no return, basically, for a lot of these companies. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you have seen some attempts, like CNN putting in their new president guy and trying to make some changes, or Netflix after enough.
I was going to bring them up.
Right. There are some of these companies that have tried to make the pushback. You know, I guess time will tell on it. Either way, I hope the end result is more freedom for citizens, not here even just in the States, but as a beacon of freedom across the world. So.
Well, and I'm glad that you framed it that way, because I've always been thinking, and this will probably still happen maybe in certain industries, but that there will be a company for conservatives, company for leftists, and people can do business there. But I like your approach, because I think you're right. I think in a lot of these cases, it's not so much providing an alternative. Like, you don't position you GiveSendGo as a company for conservatives. You're trying to replace these other companies that are politicized. Like you said, if somebody's on the left, they vote Democrat, they can use your service. If they're on the right, they vote Republican, they can use your service. And I could see something like that supplanting companies like GoFundMe. And I do think that now that you mention it, I think that's probably going to happen. Like even in the entertainment industry, I don't know if you're familiar with Eric July, but he's a libertarian guy, but he is very much like, he is into comics. He talks about comics all the time. And one of his biggest complaints is how woke Marvel comics, the actual comics, not the movies, but the comics and DC Comics have become, and the way they're doing their characters. So he started his own comic book company. And basically it's just designed to be what comics used to be. And I ordered a comic book last week and it's on back order. I won't get it until November because they're flying off the shelves. So I do think that there's a way that this might supplant everything. But I do know that you're limited on time, but why don't you kind of give us an idea as to what you guys are doing as far, because you mentioned the giving, but you also mentioned the payment processing. And are you going to position yourself as not an alternative, but something to replace PayPal because they're being politicized?
Right. No, very much so. So our team's growing rapidly. We're bringing in and hiring better people, or just more people to help facilitate those changes. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of even regulation around becoming your own bank, opening a bank, becoming a merchant processor, going through those steps. getting to those core processes, partnering with, so we've actually walked the steps to begin all of those different things, becoming our own bank, partnering with banks. We want to approach every avenue as we can to move ourselves forward, and then provide those services to freedom-loving people, and allow people to give money the way that they should, which is with freedom. I mean, it's the way that things ought to be. It's the best way to reach truth. So we've got cryptocurrency rolling out soon on our platform.
Okay.
First crowdfunding, donation crowdfunding platform to accept and pay out in cryptocurrency for people that want that, providing a whole bunch of new payment systems within it. So we're integrating a lot. We've got a lot of cool. We've got a new app that's going to be coming out soon. That's an offshoot of GiveSendGo, but it's just a benefit to users. We want a platform that people want to use that gives other benefits. And so we're just creating stuff that we see would be beneficial to our users over time. We've got a lot of cool initiatives, our Giver Army, that you can read about on the website. The Giver Army, just people coming to give monthly on our site to random campaigns. We actually have an army of people that sign up just to do that. So you start a campaign on GiveSendGo and you have no friends, you might just be picked by one of our Giver Army people on any given month. Hundreds of thousands of dollars right now are given away by our Giver Army monthly to people they don't know, just coming onto our site, and they get an email, hey, it's your time, it's time of the month to give, go get your family, whatever. We want to foster a culture of generosity in the world. It's important for people to recognize how valuable it is to give, and what it means and what it does for you as an individual when you give. So we're fostering all of those different things. There's a huge future in front of us. We say shine brightly. That's our tagline. We're going to continue to shine brightly for people to see what a company with purpose, with vision looks like, a company with grounding in freedom looks like, and that we won't just take people down because we don't like them.
Great. So, but before we sign off, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
Right. Well, you can find me personally on all the different sites. I mean, whether it's, I actually don't engage much on social media. I'm quite busy right now with foster kids and my own kids and all the other things, running a business and all that. So I try to stay off as much as I can, but you can find me at Twitter and various other, locations. You can check out GiveSendGo.com. That's the place where you can see our Giver Army. You can see, for GiveSendGo, we're on all the platforms. We're everywhere. You'll find us everywhere. Follow us, like our content, share our content. It only helps us move forward into what we need to become. So, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming. Hopefully we can do this again, because I'm sure this issue will continue to come up. But in the meantime, thanks for joining.
Great. Thank you.